God, all of a sudden my armpit's itchy. Hold on. Okay. Not good.
That's a good cold open.
Yeah. Hello, Internet. I'm Hugo.
I'm Jake, and my armpit's itchy.
My armpit's itchy. I just said that. Oh my God. And this is Unpopular Culture, the only show that often confuses spaceships for kitchens. So this week we're talking about several new things that have come out. Firstly, Doctor Who trailer, Series 10. There was a teaser previously, but now the full trailer has come out, and we get in all its spectacular goodness and cringy emoji shout-outs. So that'll be fun.
I can't wait until they have a poop emoji plushie.
Oh, yeah.
That's the MacGuffin in an episode.
After that, we're going to talk about Netflix, and they're changing the way that you are suggested shows, let's say, and their entire system and how they choose what's best for you, and we'll talk about that.
Kind of like YouTube.
Yeah. Sony Pictures back in the news. Not for anything Ghostbusters related. This time it's related to Spider-Man. And guess what? They're being fucking stupid again. So we get to talk about that. Did you see any details about this? I know I sent this to you.
I have not.
Okay. Once I explain this to you, you're going to go, oh, they're idiots. And then finally, the last thing, Iron Fist, Netflix's newest Defender series just came out, and actually the final one before Defenders came out, and I've seen the first 5 episodes. I'm going to quickly discuss my first impressions. Jake hasn't seen it. But,
no spoilers, of course.
No, there won't be any.
We just hang out,
yeah.
Shoot the shit. I haven't seen it yet, but I'll binge it. But this means that next week we'll be doing our live show, so binge watch, Iron Fist if you want, and then you can come watch the live show with us.
If you don't want to, you can always argue on the internet about whether or not it's cultural appropriation. So, first, let's talk about Doctor Who Series 10 trailer. This is the final season that the showrunner Stephen Moffat will be on. Also, Peter Capaldi's final season as the Doctor. Some people get real mad about that. They're like, spoilers. I've seen that, by the way, on Doctor Who forums and stuff, and it's like, this is...
But that's...
Everyone knows
that. The story. Yeah, it's the story about this season. Do you think, before we get into that, do you think his last episode is going to be the Christmas special or the last episode in this season? Like, have they discussed that?
They've said it's going to be the Christmas special. So,
okay.
I actually, you know what I heard? This wasn't like a rumor or anything. This was just someone on a Doctor Who forum, and they said, you know what I think would be a fun idea for a Christmas special? And they said, have Peter Capaldi at the end of season 10, before the Christmas special, whatever happens to him, die, regenerate, but he regenerates into, remember An Adventure in Space and Time, the 50th anniversary thing about the first Doctor? Have that guy come in, and for some reason he regenerates basically back into the first Doctor. And then the Christmas special is an homage to First Doctor stories where he's playing the first Doctor.
That'd be cool. And the actor that did that was...
he was Filch he's in Harry Potter.
Yeah, and he's in Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
As the guy that conducted the Red Wedding, and still a really good actor. He was also the suspected pedo in Broadchurch, who is so he's connected to the next guy that's going to be the showrunner of Doctor Who. So that's actually not out of this world. I think that also BBC is just like everyone's the town bicycle in BBC, so it's fine.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun idea. And then of course at the end of the Christmas special he would die again and regenerate into the actual next Doctor. But I think that'd be a fun little thing to do. But
then there'd be people like, I don't want to call him what would this be? That'd be the 14th and 15th Doctor?
13th and 14th. Peter Capaldi is the 12th. War is considered his own thing for some reason, just for continuity's sake.
So do you think they'd do that?
They'd do that. They just call him, I think they would call him like Christmas Special Doctor or just First Doctor B or something like that, and then the next one would be the real 13th. But anyway.
That'd be weird. You know what would be actually interesting is if he went back and talked to his daughter.
Susan? Granddaughter, you mean?
Granddaughter, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think she's still alive. If they're going to do that, they need to do that quick. Although I guess they could regenerate her, but it's more impactful if it's, the actual original actress. But
yeah, anyways.
Series 10. The trailer came out, and it's basically a sizzle reel. There isn't a lot about the plot, but it shows, here's the new companion, Bill. Here's the Doctor. They're doing adventure things. Here's the planets. Here's some
also have Nurgle
visuals.
Doing things.
Honestly, this trailer, you see a lot of Bill, the new companion, where they're doing the angle of she's the new companion. So, of course, what's this? What's that? That's cool. Yada, yada, yada. You get it. You've seen Doctor Who before, presumably.
Also, the joke about the kitchen spaceship, she says that. She says the inside of the TARDIS looks like a kitchen, and I don't know what her backstory is. Is she like a cook?
I don't...
Or prisoner? Or...
I don't know, but I don't even get that joke. Is it just supposed to be, that's a wacky thing to say, or is it like a reference I'm missing, or...
Does it maybe look like a kitchen and we're just not looking hard enough? I thought it looked like a library.
Right. After I heard that line, I thought to myself, what does the interior of the TARDIS look like right now? And I tried to think about everything in it, and there's like nothing in it that looks like a kitchen other than, I guess, if you've ever worked in... I was going to say, if you've ever worked in food service, there are a lot of kind of stainless steel looking surfaces. So maybe, is she referring to that? Or is it just a poorly written joke? I don't know. But anyway, you get look at some of the monsters. See, I think we saw, it looked like a female ice warrior, actually, which was interesting.
Yeah, there was also the horror things with the, that's probably going to be the horror episode of the season with the weird faces. Lots of Missy, but I think she was in the same outfit every time.
Yeah,
maybe there was 2 outfits, but
I'm assuming.
So I know that like the chatter was that she's going to be pretty involved in this season. And usually during these sizzle reels, we don't see the second half of the season barely at all.
Yeah.
It could be, I don't know, a lot. Like, I love Michelle Gomez's performance, so I hope she's in there as much as she can be without it being Moffat-y.
Yeah, I'm thinking...
But it's going to be Moffat-y.
Here's something that also came out. It's separate from the trailer, but this was news that came out today also. Apparently, Season 10 is going to be the first season, I believe, in all of New Who. This hasn't happened since Classic Who, to do a 3-part episode. So, if I had to guess, she might be part of the 3-part whatever. Because remember, in the last season, she absconded with the special Daleks that are half Time Lord, which is a big deal. And she said, I have a plan. So
they're coming back, I think, it seems. But wouldn't you consider the time, the name, and the day of the Doctor?
They're loosely
to be like
connected.
A quasi 3? Because, I mean, they're very much following the plot, but they're obviously not sequential.
Right, but my point is that it doesn't say to be continued at the end of any of them. You know what I mean? Like, technically, you can watch one or the other. No, okay. but you know what I mean.
No, I hear you. That's fine. I'm fine with that.
Sure. We also see emoji robots, which I don't know who wrote this episode, but if I had to guess, it's either a Moffat episode.
It's Gaddis.
Gaddis. Is it for sure?
No, I'm just guessing it's 100% Gaddis.
If you don't know, sometimes Moffat, what he'll do, he won't necessarily write the episode, but he'll go to a writer and he'll say, hey, I have an idea for a Doctor Who episode, write this. So I could be wrong, but I have a feeling this idea of they're robots, but they speak through emoji. I feel like that's a Moffat idea. I don't know.
I really hope that's just like a really brief thing and he makes fun of the concepts of emojis. But they seem to be in more than one shot.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I was watching the trailer and Hugo was on the other end of this call. And I paused it and go, emoji robot. And we both kind of had a chuckle like, this is Moffat's last season. Can't not, right?
Other notable thing, which I thought was very interesting, there's a brief shot of a Cyberman, but it's not a modern Cyberman that, the ones that kind of look like Iron Man. It looks like a 1960s classic Cyberman with the cloth face and everything.
That's a cool idea for an episode.
I love that idea. I love the idea of exploring classic Doctor Who monsters in their classic forms and then trying to explain, well, why do they look like cheap props? Like, why does it look like that? I think that's fun. Star Trek Deep Space Nine did an episode like that called Trials and Tribulations, where they went back in time to the time of the original series and they saw
Tribbles.
They saw the Klingons and they didn't have the forehead ridges, and because they didn't in the original series, and the people were like, why don't they have that? And I think Worf was just like, we don't talk about it or something like that. So, funny stuff.
That's actually interesting. They did a similar thing in the reboot of Star Trek with the Chris Pine Star Trek, where they're definitely different, but they're similar. They're like in between Worf and barely old Klingons, but they're clearly more humanoid, so they're kind of leaning towards old Klingons.
I actually really liked the design of the Klingons in the new Star Trek. As much as people shit on Into Darkness, and I totally get it, there are tons of problems with that movie, but I liked the design of the Klingons. I didn't think that was one of the problems with the movie. I think
it was oddly paced, but I still, for all the shit those get, they're still good sci-fi. For fun, campy sci-fi movies, you don't usually get that. Like, I think Guardians came out and they're like, everything else is shit.
Here's my thing about the Star Treks, which I know we're off topic. I'll get back on Doctor Who.
It's not really that off topic.
It's still
Star Trek, Doctor Who, same thing to most people.
Star Trek 2009 is a fun sci-fi action flick, but it's not
Yeah.
like a really good Star Trek movie. It's just kind of fun. It's not like Wrath of Khan or The Voyage Home. They're very different. Into Darkness I can watch it, but it's not my favorite. I would argue Beyond is the best of them.
Beyond was really fun because it was 5-year mission Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I think that's really where they should stay. I want to always enter the movie on another mission, have us go back, but it doesn't need to be this grand galaxy or Federation destruction thing. It doesn't ever have to be that. Just have it be like, this is happening on a planet. Make it a long form episode. I'm down with that.
Well, that's
and I will watch every single Star Wars movie and enjoy it forever.
Star Trek.
Or Star Trek.
Yeah.
But also Star Wars. I like that too. I was
Beyond,
just giving a shout out,
Beyond
I didn't
worked
mess up.
because it was a lot of what you said. It felt like a long episode. At the end, of course, they did, we're going to destroy the giant space station. But, most of the episode felt fairly self-contained. But anyway, Doctor Who. So there's not a lot more to talk about in the trailer. Like we said, Missy's going to show up. Bill does show up a lot, and they're really pushing her. Obviously, she's the modern female companion. But I'm much more interested in Nerdle, especially after the Christmas special, which wasn't perfect. But I liked Nerdle in it. I think I'm going to like him more than Bill. He just seems like a funny alien from the future companion, which we haven't had since the closest we've had to him is Captain Jack, which is obviously a completely different type of character altogether. It's just,
By the way, Captain Jack needs to come back and with this new Doctor.
Well, he's coming back to do audios. I think Barrowman is doing some of the...
Barrowman's the least busy actor in BBC/Hollywood, for sure.
He does that
But he's
show...
the most talented unemployed actor.
I think he was on that show Arrow. I don't watch the CW shows.
He is.
So I don't know if he still is.
He's someone's dad, and he shoots arrows. He's Merlin.
Okay.
His name's Merlin. Merlin something. Someone knows. That show's garbage. And so is The Flash, and so is Supergirl, and so is Heroes of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow, sir.
Fuck it. See, I don't even... It's so bad. And... for those of you who are like, you probably haven't even watched it. No, I've watched I watched 2 seasons of Flash with my girlfriend because I love her, and that's over now. She's gone. She's dumped. I'm kidding, but still. Doctor Who looks fun. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it to come back. I hope Capaldi has a good send-off because he deserves it. I'm really, really excited about the end of Moffat, even though he gave us some of the best seasons of Who. Although some people argue it was, Tenet, but whatever. I like Smith. But this should be good, and make sure to tune in every episode after the episodes come out. We're gonna do Who Cares?
Yep.
Hugo and Jake.
Yeah. So next thing,
we got a little title screen and everything. Don't make us waste the effort that we didn't put into that.
Netflix. Solid transition. They're changing the way
say the name.
They're saying they're changing the way they do their ratings. Right now, if you have Netflix, which is probably most of you, you know that the ratings range from 1 to 5 stars, and it's based upon what they assume you will think of the show based on the ratings you give in other shows. So, for instance, if you rate Daredevil 5 stars and someone else rated Daredevil 5 stars and the other person rated another show 3 stars, they're going to assume your tastes are similar, so they'll give you 3 stars for the same thing until you rate it at least. So, they've said that this algorithm doesn't work very well because, for instance, a lot of people might rate like a Ken Burns documentary, like the Civil War one, which is very good.
Guilty.
5 star. Sure.
Oh, yeah.
And they might rate like Billy Madison 3 stars, but they'll watch Billy Madison more often, so their algorithm doesn't know what to do with that information because one you rated higher, but you watch the other one more often.
The answer is Ken Burns' documentary series is about 12 hours long.
Well, that was just the example they gave, but you understand. And so they're saying the new system we're going to switch to is not stars, it's a simple thumbs up, thumbs down, like or dislike. And I think that is dumb. I told this to Jake and how mad I was about this like yesterday or something. He's like, why do you care? Because it's dumbing down the system to a point where I think it's going to make the suggestions even less helpful than they are now.
So basically what you think is, like, for instance, you and I are going to watch I mean, Billy Madison is probably a modern masterpiece. We'll give that 5 stars, obviously.
Sure.
And that's not hyperbolic at all. But then someone else is going to give God's Not Dead because it has a lot of, the fan base is a little feverish at times. So we're going to give that shoved into us instead of Billy Madison and other Adam Sandler masterpieces.
Well, it's just, I think that movies, because there's tons of different genres, kinds of movies, formats, I don't think just this is good, this is bad tells you enough. When I'm looking,
I think what they should do is jump on board with Metacritic, Rotten Tomatoes, some other things, and kind of just do an aggregate. I guess Metacritic's already that, but say, okay, here's the aggregate thing. This is what they liked, and then don't have anyone else's input, only your input, so that it at the end of every episode it suggests, hey, did you like this? Give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and then over time, kind of like Pandora, where no one else's likes or dislikes are really involved. It's yours, and over time, your playlist becomes really personalized. You can add flavor to it and say, okay, I like this movie, but I don't necessarily like this genre, so you can kind of get rid of that genre. Like, I like The Babadook, but I think horror movies suck. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, personally, this is a real thing. So that could kind of work into your algorithm, but the suggested movies will just be most popular according to critic and fan scores, either Metacritic or just overall in Netflix, and then just over time personalize it. I think that's the best way to do it. So if the likes and dislikes start there and end with your personal input, I'm fine with that.
At the end of the day, though, they're still going to have to compare that to something. So they're still going to have to say, okay, this person liked this, and that.
Sure,
what
but
are they comparing,
I think it's pretty easy to be like, okay, is Usual Suspects like Ultron? No, but you like both of them. So, okay, so they like Marvel action movies, and they like kind of suspense dramas. So now you get jumped into something like that movie with I can't think of the name, Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman, where he loses his kids. That's similar to Usual Suspects in that it's tense, but it's not quite, it's a different tone. It's not funny.
Sure.
It's not like action-y.
Yeah.
So you might like that, but it's certainly way over here on Marvel, but Marvel might send you to like a comedy because it's quippy and fun. So I think over time that would be really reliable to you personally.
Maybe, I don't know. I just don't like the lack of nuance. For instance, I think the stars help because when I'm looking at a movie and I can see how many stars it has, it's not just good or bad. To me, I read it as, this is the movie, this is how well it did at doing what it's trying to do. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain.
Not a lot of people watch movies like you and I watch movies, though. Like, some person, they see Billy Madison and they go, this is the fucking funniest thing. That penguin, he sees it when he's drunk. That's brilliance. That's fucking brilliance. And then they watch a Marvel movie and they're like, I have fucking superhero fatigue. But to us, they're like, oh, that's a superhero movie. They did a good job with that. It's not the best movie. Captain America Winter Soldier is a better movie in that genre, but they might just totally one-star that shit.
That's fair. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know how this is going to turn out. Maybe I'm totally wrong. That's fine.
I think it's a weird thing to even care about, honestly, and I don't think it's going to change your personal experience that much. But I understand, you're going to get the, what was that one lady? Not Isla Fisher, or not Isla Schlesinger, the one that everybody hates now suddenly that was in Trainwreck. What's her name?
Amy Schumer.
Amy Schumer. Her thing has 1 star on my current Netflix thing, and I don't know if that's for me or...
I heard it's getting a lot... 2 things. Firstly, I did hear that sucked. I heard it was an awful comedy special, which, and people shit on her all the time, which if you don't like her, that's fine. I liked Inside Amy Schumer up until, the last season. Something happened to her at some point where she got too famous and, she stopped... I don't know. Maybe it was just... There were claims she was stealing jokes, so maybe she stopped stealing jokes, so her jokes just stopped being funny.
Well, for all comedians, if you're forced to write content, you're just not going to be funny.
Sure, and also, I think at a certain point she got too famous to, be relatable, you know what I mean? That thing happened with that person on the street. And also, her whole comedy act, I guess that's hyperbolic, but a lot of her comedy act is, I'm a slut, I love dick, I'm sloppy, I get drunk, I fuck dick,
That's it.
But then when
it's white trash Mencia.
But then, like, when people make jokes like that to her, I think it happened on Twitter once, she got all, like, mad about it. Like, that's the image you project on stage. That's your character.
Right.
Expect that, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. I heard it was bad, but also I heard there were some Reddit subreddits. I want to say Pussy Pass Denied, which is a subreddit that is like women who didn't get away with a thing, which has been taken over by a group of alt-right people, by the way. It didn't used to be how it is now, but it is now.
So you're saying they swarmed the thing, downvote it.
Yeah. And that's not to say it's not deserving of 1 star. I haven't seen it. I don't know. But there was a little bit of a targeted effort. But hey, it's probably shit anyway, so I don't really care.
Right. That's why I think they should take the Pandora route, where it's personalized to you. Anyways, moving on to whatever is next on the list. And that thing is Sony is announcing a solo Venom movie, according to these notes. And on the surface, I think that sounds all right to me. But it's Sony, right?
Now,
but Sony sent the rights to Spider-Man to Marvel on a conditional basis where they make all the money from that shit, right?
They make the money and they still retain the rights technically.
Does Marvel make money on toys and shit? Is that
merchandising? Yes.
Marvel the licensing basically of the rest of it?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Which makes sense. I'm sure lots of kids buy Spider-Man toys and shit. So here's the thing though.
I know I'll be buying some Spider-Man toys after that comes out, but not for me.
You know how Sony pictures are fucking awful? And they keep making
I do know that.
And they keep making strange decisions. The Ghostbusters that wasn't very good.
They're Japanese WB.
I guess the Emoji Movie's coming out, and there was a memo or something where they were like, "We're gonna see how the Emoji Movie does." You know, we think that has franchise capabilities or whatever.
Right. We mentioned this like 5-6 episodes ago.
Yeah, and just a bunch of other strange things. When the email leaks came out from Sony, you saw the heads there talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2 and how out of touch they are with people. They're like, those kids are into electronic music. Could you maybe have Electro play electronic music or whatever? Like, it was just total fucking stupid bullshit, which explains a lot of that movie. But here we go. So they still maintain the rights to everything in regard to Spider-Man, as far as, as much as you can insulate Spider-Man from the rest of the Marvel universe.
Venom, Carnage,
yes,
stuff like that,
and the villains and stuff that are mostly associated with Spider-Man.
Rhino. Paul Giamatti Rhino?
Yes, especially Paul Giamatti Rhino. So they sat down and they said, hey, you know how we have a movie coming out called Spider-Man Homecoming under the MCU? That's going to be super popular. It's got Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man. That might make $1 billion. Who knows? It depends, but it's going to make money. It's going to make a shit ton of money.
It's going to be up there, especially if it's good.
And it's in control of, Marvel Studios. Kevin Feige's involved, whatever. So, you know what we should do to capitalize on that? And let's say you're another Sony exec. What is your answer to? What should we do to capitalize on the success of our upcoming MCU movie about Spider-Man?
Let's first of all, I'd really like to get an emoji trilogy happening. I'm thinking Emoji Reloaded and also Emoji Revolutions.
Sure.
And then I don't know, how about a Venom movie, because that's the only other thing I know about Spider-Man.
Okay, so I love the idea of a Venom movie. And we do have that MCU Spider-Man movie coming out, but how's this for an idea? How about it's a Venom movie that has no connection to the MCU or Spider-Man, and we're going to have the guy who wrote Amazing Spider-Man 2 write it?
But I thought that Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't do well because we had them write it.
Yeah, but we're going to do that again.
Okay, how involved are we going to be in the decision-making process? Because we really screwed the pooch last time.
Entirely. Marvel has no say in this whatsoever. This is entirely...
Oh, wow. We're not going to ship it off to the successful thing and have another deal like we do with the Spider-Man and get like $1 billion?
Not at all. In fact, we're going to do so poorly, it's probably going to not only damage our brand further, it's actually going to tangentially damage the MCU, because people are going to be confused and think this has something to do with Spider-Man because it's Venom, and it fucking does.
Wait, hold on. It's not connected to the MCU. Who's Venom fighting?
I don't know. Right?
This is a great plan.
I don't understand.
This is gonna go great.
I don't understand the thought process. Okay, we knew we were fucking up Spider-Man.
Ooh, wait, what if he fights the guys from Pixels?
If he just rips Adam Sandler's head off and eats it, then I'll give
for
this
3 hours.
Sure. I don't understand the thought process. Honestly, it's supposed to come out in 2018. I hope it doesn't come out because
2018? They just decided to do this. It's supposed to come out next year?
that's what they said.
You
Sony,
can't.
what are they doing?
People don't realize, like, actually, like, these scripts float around for a long time.
Yeah.
The guy that did Amazing Spider-Man 2 probably doesn't have a script out.
I'm trying. Was it the script? I don't remember if it was the script writer who's going to be writing it, or if it's just Mark Webb who's going to be directing again, and he did Amazing Spider-Man.
Christ. Either way, it's just like, I want a Venom movie. Don't get me wrong. I want a Carnage movie.
Oh,
more.
sure, absolutely.
Like, because of the successes of Logan and Deadpool, you could easily do a really awesome Carnage movie with actual violence in it, because he's a serial killer, if you're unaware. And that then gets symbioted by this red symbiote instead of... And Venom could fight Carnage, and that could be a thing. And you could have this sort of anti-hero Punisher thing going on, where even to Venom, like, that's a bad idea to let that go. And that could be a really cool... Because think of the fights you could have now with the effects we have between a Venom and a Carnage. But no, what's going to happen is you're going to have Venom running around fighting Spider-Man villains. He's going to be a good guy or some shit.
Yeah, and I don't understand. So it's not going to involve Spider-Man at all. I understand that in the comics currently, and in the last couple of years, there have been Venom spin-offs, and he's more of an anti-hero, and he's joined the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's very separate from Spider-Man.
I was going to say, he goes off into space, though.
Oh, sure, and that's fine. But the thing is, his origins are still tied to Spider-Man. The reason the symbiote works the way it does, and it has sort of Spider-Man looks and powers, is because when it lands on Earth, or whatever the origin is in that particular universe, is because it first attaches to Spider-Man and it absorbs.
And then you get Black Suit Spider-Man. Now you're taking away Black Suit Spider-Man from the MCU, which could make you literally millions of dollars.
Yes, absolutely. So
hundreds of millions, not just like, I'll go see that if it's an MCU movie. I will go see it.
Yeah,
but you can't just sell this to Marvel.
I actually heard a funny, I don't think this is true, by the way, but I heard there was a funny write-up I read where someone was like, I think they're just trying to hold Spider-Man hostage to make Disney outright buy it back from them, because it's like a threat.
Oh, fucking do it. We'll make Venom.
If you don't do this, we're going to make a Venom movie and fucking just shit on your whole brand.
Sweaty executives in Disney like, oh, fuck. I mean, Moana just came out. Can we afford it?
What about Lin-Manuel Miranda? He did really well in Moana. Can we get Lin-Manuel Miranda to play Venom? Anyway.
I'm Venom!
He's not gay. Is he? Is he gay? I don't know.
No, that's just, it's
I don't think that
Broadway.
sounds like his voice. It sounds like a stereotypical gay voice.
Yeah, it was Broadway.
Oh, okay.
If he writes Venom, I assume it's going to be a gay guy playing him.
Okay, sure. Anyway, that's a stupid fucking idea. The last thing we're going to talk about, or I guess probably mostly me, Jake can comment or ask questions.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm just saying. Iron Fist has come out. And if any of you haven't seen the reviews before it came out, it was getting fucking trashed. Last time I checked, it had either a 14 to 19 on Rotten Tomatoes. The average score was 4.5 out of 10. And this was, by the way...
Seems low.
Yeah, the initial review copies that went out, they only were allowed to watch the first 6 episodes, which explains some of this. But let me talk about the first... I've seen up to episode 5. I've seen through episode 5. So let me explain my thoughts so far.
Sure.
You know how Luke Cage really, really slowed down at the end and it was too many episodes and there was filler?
Yeah. Well, because they did a villain swap, which was unsuccessful.
Yes, and arguably Daredevil Season 2 had some of that too, where it was too many episodes long, and by the end people were saying there was problems, or at least, when it wasn't the Punisher, people were saying there were problems.
But they did do a good job of not explaining a lot of stuff, and so I'm still intrigued about what's going on in Daredevil.
Sure. One of the major issues, and there are plenty, I'll talk about them, of Iron Fist, as of yet, is the filler is in there, but the problem is it's like the first 3 episodes are bullshit filler, and the whole time I'm thinking, oh my god, this is incredibly boring. This is a show about a guy who has magical martial arts powers, and I'm fucking bored. Where is the plot going? It's because they stuck the filler episodes first, which is especially stupid considering you gave people review copies that only included the first 6 episodes. So if you're watching this, I want you to be aware, the first 3, way too long. The first episode itself, this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailers and it's just the basic premise. Danny Rand, as a child, who is Iron Fist, was in a plane crash, landed in the mountains, and was trained by monks to be a martial artist. Everyone thinks he's dead. Comes back to New York in his 20s, late 20s, early 30s, and no one believes it's him. Fine backstory. The problem is the first 3 episodes is a back and forth of, is that Danny Rand? I'm Danny Rand. You can't be Danny Rand. I am, though, but he's dead. No, I'm not. But you're not Danny Rand. Yes, I am. And it's that for 3 episodes. I'm not kidding. The first 3 episodes are... It's talking in office buildings, the show. It's absurd. And by the way, the person who is the showrunner on Iron Fist is the same guy who did the last season of Dexter, Lumberjack Dexter, which I don't know why they picked him. Terrible choice. And if you're watching this, just know by episode 4, that's when the plot starts. I'm only up to episode 5. I've only finished through episode 5, but once the plot actually starts going, it gets much more interesting. But I haven't gotten past that, so I can't definitively say whether or not it gets good or if it's like a satisfying conclusion. I don't know. Ask me next week when we do the live show. Other problems. People said that the fighting is terrible, which... It's a series based on the premise of a magical martial artist, so that's a big fuck up. I think some of that in the reviews, not totally correct, and let me explain why. A lot of them were comparing it to Daredevil, which makes sense. He's a martial artist too. Now, Daredevil, when he's fighting, for one thing, shot way better. Daredevil is both seasons, far better shot show. I'm going to give them total credit on that. I don't know what they were thinking with how they filmed some of Iron Fist, especially the fight scenes. Daredevil, when he fights, he's a blind guy with special abilities, so he's a good martial artist, but he's just a guy, you know? So it's brutal. When he's fighting, it looks like it's hurting him, and he gets hurt a lot, and he hurts other people, and it's brutal. When Iron Fist fights, he's one of the greatest martial artists in the MCU, if not the greatest, at least he will be. So when he fights, especially normal humans in the first, 4 to 6 episodes or whatever, he breezes through them. The whole point is he's not necessarily punching security guards in the face. He's Jackie Channing it a little bit. He's using their own momentum against them, slipping past them. You know what I mean?
Sure. It feels fluid, bumped up against Daredevil and Luke Cage.
Yeah.
And Jessica Jones, and that's the problem people have with the fights?
I don't know, there are other problems, which I'll discuss in a second, but I want to say a good 30% of people's complaints about the fights are, he's such a good fighter, it doesn't look intense. Because when he's fighting normal human beings, it's just, he breezes through them.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Have you ever been worried about Batman?
Well, that's still...
No, I get it. I'm just saying, that same critique doesn't follow for other people who just breeze through shit.
I wish
the only other one I can think of is Superman, but that's just because Superman in general is boring.
It's the difference between watching someone beat the shit out of someone, like Daredevil, and watching someone dodge 50 punches in a row until the opponent gets tired out. The second one's probably more impressive. The second one's harder to do, but it's not as visceral. And I think that's, like I said, about 30%. The next 30%, I'm going to say, is how it's shot. Because it's not shot as well as Daredevil, like I said. The fight scenes especially, they're done very much more like an action.
Really quick cutty.
Doesn't hold on things. There aren't lots of long cuts. I saw a hallway fight. I don't know if it's this series is the hallway fight, but I wasn't impressed. If that was the hallway fight in episode, I want to say it's 4 or 5, you'll know, it's the people with hatchets. He's fighting people with hatchets. If that's the hallway fight, disappointing. Quick cuts, can't see what's going on, and then the remaining 36% or however much math is left, I don't fucking know. 39.9 repeating is the guy they got to play Iron Fist. See, in Daredevil, it's easy to hide the stuntman because he's wearing a mask in every episode, because even in the first season, he's not wearing the Daredevil outfit, but he's wearing his black mask outfit,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
So
but that would look too close to Iron Fist if they did it.
Right. It's easy to hide the stuntman, so the stunts are more interesting. With Finn, is his real name?
Yeah, his name's Finn.
Finn? I thought so, okay. He's not wearing a mask. There's no black mask thing, you know?
He's got a beard and hair.
And I don't know if by the end of the series he gets his outfit or not, but there isn't. So it's hard to hide when it's not him. So a lot of the time it has to be him. and he's not good. He's not good at it. I'm sorry. He's probably a nice guy in real life. He might be an all right actor in other things.
He was the knight that fucked Renly Baratheon.
You told me that, yeah.
In Game of Thrones, by the way, the gay guy, who then later ends up being a religious zealot, which is fun. So,
speaking of Finn, by the way, in this, a lot of people criticize his acting, and that's interesting because I don't think it's his fault. Because half the time when he's playing Danny, it's great. The character of Danny in this is naive. He's been in the mountains since he was like 10. He's basically a child in an adult body who's also been beaten savagely in order to learn kung fu. Like, that's
like
the thing.
That movie with Brendan Fraser's Flashback.
Blast from the past.
Blast from the past.
Kind of like that. Like, he has a first generation iPod, which he plays like late 90s, early 2000s hip hop on. That's pretty funny. In one scene, he asks his new secretary, "Hey, like, if I need fruit roll-ups, like, could you get me fruit roll-ups?" Like that, it's not a well-written joke, but that made me laugh because of how ridiculous it was. So, I think the character is okay, but sometimes the writing and the dialogue is so fucking bad. And I don't mean like, oh, it's a little, all shows have some rough around the edges. Some of the dialogue is awful. I don't know who wrote this or if it whatever, but Jesus Christ. In the first episode, again, not really a spoiler, it just happens. He comes to town. He goes to live in Central Park because he's homeless and no one believes who he is. Another random homeless guy comes up while Danny's listening to his iPod, and this is how the scene goes. He goes, "Hey, you got an iPod?" And Danny's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I have an iPhone. Have you seen that internet? You can look up anything on there. You want me to look up anything for you?" And he sits down next to him, and that's how Danny gets expositing information about what's happened since he was gone.
Wow,
it's terrible. And the weird thing is it switches between like, okay, it's all right. It's not great. It's not like Daredevil good. It's not, Jessica Jones good, but the writing being serviceable to scenes that are outright insane that someone wrote this dialogue and thought it was acceptable. There's a scene later between one of the 7 million villains on this show and Danny, and the way they're talking to each other, Danny I can give a little leeway on how he talks because he's been gone for so long, and you can say he's kind of quirky, and they mention that later in the show too. He's like, "Yeah, I do weird things and I don't even know it's weird until people point it out to me." That's fine. That's characterization. I don't mind that. But the other guy speaks so weird, too. I don't know how to describe it other than if an alien had been monitoring our broadcasts for like 30 years and decided to write a scene, like, it's almost correct human conversation, but not quite. Like, you can tell something's off about how they're speaking to each other. And there's a lot of that in here. And it's such a bummer because you can see underneath this show, and this is apparent from the get-go. Again, I'm only up to episode 5. There is a great show under here. There is a Daredevil quality show under here, Daredevil Season 1, where it's a great premise, fun, potential for action. It's got that mysticism in there, especially because Doctor Strange has come out now. They have more free reign to introduce mystical elements, and it just doesn't take advantage of it. It's so fucking disappointing. And by the way, as critical as I'm being, I'm not saying it's fucking awful. If this had come out on NBC or something, I would have been like, "Oh, this is a pretty good, for a network show, this is pretty good."
So it's better. It's better than Flash, Arrow.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Fuck yes. I by no means am I saying like don't watch this. I'm just saying by the bar set by like Daredevil Season 1 and Jessica Jones, though some people didn't like that. It's a steep drop and it's sad.
If you don't like Jessica Jones, you just don't like good TV.
I think because people were expecting a brawl fest super.
I suppose,
crime,
but that's
different
because you don't like good TV.
Because I'm telling you, for the first half of this show, it's not the show about Iron Fists stopping ninjas. It's about Danny Rand came back from another country. Everyone thinks he's dead. Is he going to get his company back?
But there's space for that story, by the way. But I think 3 episodes is a bit extreme.
Yeah, it dragged on too long. I'm not kidding. It felt like they had the same conversation about 10 times in the course of the first 2 episodes. It was the same thing over and over. And it sucks. That sucks. But let me just say this. If you enjoyed all the other Defender series, including Luke Cage had problems too. It had slowdowns and villain switches that were mistakes.
By the way, Luke Cage, excellent first 6 to 7 episodes.
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. I think that's up there with some of the other really great stuff because it gets really interesting, and then they do this Mahershala Ali, just no longer the main villain, and then it's like, okay, now I'm not interested that much.
Yeah. So if you liked all those shows, though, if you enjoyed them, if you'll enjoy the MCU, even with its, it's got plenty of shit wrong with it, but if you enjoy it, I still think you'll like this show. Again, only halfway through it, but I'm not sitting through it thinking, oh my god, when is this going to be done? It's less exciting and thrilling, which is surprising. Again, I don't know if the action ramps up, although it should, I'm guessing, based on where I am and what's happening. But it really starts off slow. It is a slow burn. So just expect that. It's about expectations. And maybe you'll hate it. That's fine. This is the one show. If you had told me, for instance, I hated Daredevil season 1, I'd be like, you know what? No, you're wrong. That's a really, really well-produced show. Even if you don't like superheroes and you have superhero fatigue or whatever, it's just a well-made show with great performances. Right. Daredevil season 2, I'd be like, okay, I get it. It's quite a bit different from season 1 in tone and everything. Yeah, it had its faults, but I still enjoyed it. Jessica Jones, again, I might be like, yeah, there were some fillers and could have been a couple episodes shorter, but no, it's a really good show. Luke Cage, I could understand. Yeah, I get if you don't like that. This one, more than probably the others, I would say, yeah, I get it. It's just kind of a middle-of-the-road show with fun moments, and yeah, I get it. I get it.
So what I think it's going to hold me over for Marvel stuff.
Oh, sure.
Because sure. I think if you are a fan of the comic book stuff, you kind of need a little bump every once in a while to take the edge off. And the last one you had was Doctor Strange, which was excellent. This'll prep your butthole for the probable badness that Wonder Woman will be. So this will look good in retrospect. Maybe they should have waited until Wonder Woman's release. And
I think one of the issues too was Legion is on right now too, which is another superhero show. I know I told you about Legion. Have you been watching Legion? It's not one of the best superhero shows I've ever seen. It's one of the best television programs I've ever seen. It's up there with Breaking Bad.
I was gonna ask you not to say that because I don't believe you.
Go watch. I'm not fucking kidding. I'm shocked too. It's an X-Men show I never knew I wanted to see. It's a perfect adaptation in that I could totally see a lot of this happening in a comic book, but it's not silly, if that makes sense. I'm actually taking it seriously. It's very strange. So I think bars were high for Iron Fist because there's another superhero show on right now that's so popular. But oh, by the way, some of the criticism people had was why isn't Iron Fist Asian? This is cultural appropriation. For one thing, Iron Fist has never, ever, ever been Asian. He's always been a white guy.
Yeah. I tried to look for an Asian version. There's not one that I could find. So yeah. It's always been Danny Rand.
It might have passed on. I think right now there actually is a new Iron Fist and a new Power Man, but I don't know.
That's like having a new Captain America. That's not really Captain America.
But Danny is a white guy. Whatever. I don't really care about that though. The point that the people who wrote that kind of shit are missing is, were they even paying attention to the show? Because again, episode 5. They talk about the fact that he was an outsider at the monastery and how it affected him and why it was part of the story. They built it in that he was an outsider there and that wasn't his culture. He says they didn't accept me and there was this title of Iron Fist, and because I was an outsider, I had to work harder than other people and I wanted to prove them right. And it relates to the story that's happening currently when he's at the company and he's like, now I'm an outsider here and I need to prove them wrong. It's in the script. Thematically, it makes sense. It's not just some bullshit thing, and it pisses me off when people cry cultural appropriation about shit when they're just fucking wrong.
Well, even if fuck that, I could go dress up as an Italian man tomorrow if I shave the beard and just rock the mustache. I could be Mario. Don't fucking tell me I can't be Mario.
I understand if you're like, wow, Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's is racist as fuck.
That's not right cultural appropriation, though. That's just racism. That's blackface for Asians.
Sure.
I understand. But saying a guy can't have cornrows, this is a different topic. Fuck you, though, if you think that's a bad thing. it's cool because what it is highlighting the good things of that culture and things that other cultures want to absorb into it. Just like McDonald's.
Right.
The whole world wants to absorb McDonald's into their bodies and eat weird black sandwiches that Japanese people sell them. What's that about? What is that fucking about?
It was
I don't understand.
Burger King did a Halloween Whopper with the black bun, and I guess it made people's poop weird colors or something.
Of course it would. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah. So I mean, if you like the MCU, check out. I don't want you to be discouraged. I mean, I just don't want your expectations to be super high, because I think if your expectations are like super high, you're gonna be like, this is fucking shit.
That's
and I'm
okay.
not saying
I'm sure that you've definitely cut their expectations.
Sure.
I think we're good.
I don't want you to think it's going to be utter shit either, though. There are good moments. It's just, it is what it is. Enjoy it or don't. I don't care. We'll talk about it next week. I'm hoping I'm surprised in the second half, just it takes off. But
because reviewers haven't been able to see the second half.
No, and it's only been out for a day, so I haven't seen any other reviews since it's, cool reference. I know the quality of the show is not based on the references. I understand, but I do like references, and there's some fun ones in there. And also, you can see the Defenders starting to come together. And I don't mean that literally. I'm not saying like Daredevil shows up. No, but you can see the seeds of how this is going to happen, if that makes sense, which is nice. So, anyway, guess that's it. You can always follow us on Twitter at @TheRealUnpop.
Yeah, you could just subscribe to the channel and get all the things. Remember, we're gonna do a lot of stuff coming up because we're gonna do a lot of movies. Every major movie release that you think is big, we'll be talking about that. Especially the comic book movies. That's kind of what we do. We're gonna be doing Who Cares, which is our episode companion talk every time an episode of Doctor Who comes out. And we're gonna do some Iron Fist live stream next week. So stick around, huh? Just stay right where you're at. Don't move. Die like those kids in like Korea that were playing WoW and like starved to death.
So until next time, I'm Hugo.
I'm Jake. Maybe bring fluids, like some oranges. They have some nutrition, and also there's lots of, you'll be fine. It'll be good.